Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to the portal with Terrie Huberman. I've got a pretty cool guest today. If you're watching on YouTube, you can already see her. She's really pretty, by the way. So you might want to watch on YouTube if you like pretty people. And then if you're listening, I'm going to officially introduce you guys to Theresa Nguyen. Hello, hello. Nice to meet you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Terry, for having me on today.
Oh, I'm so excited. So just real quick, um, you're an RN, so you're a nurse, and you're a Dragon Channel energy healer.
Yes.
So when I looked at the information, I was like, I gotta know more. So you harness the forces and the energy of dragons within yourself, and then you help others do the same, which ultimately lasts in change and healing over really long periods of time. And I know you do retreats. I know that you work one-on-one with people, but I want to know more. So tell me more.
Okay, well, I don't even know where to start.
And
I'll just share with you basically what
ah,
I do with other people when it comes
perfect.
to dragon energy, what it is, and why
Yes.
you might want to work with dragon energy.
Yes, yes.
All right. So being a dragon channel, what that means to me is I am the physical channel for dragons. So I allow that energy to come into my body, and I basically become the dragon.
Okay.
Uh, and I don't have to do that in order for someone to achieve the benefits or experience dragon healing. For me, it's more just the ego and the human part of me
Yeah.
stepping aside
Yeah.
so that the dragons can do what they need to do without me being like trying to analyze or trying to
Yeah.
stop it, or you know what I mean, trying to
Yeah.
filter it. Yeah, so it's like you're getting the pure codes and the pure activations and the pure love and compassion that just wants to flow through in order for you to receive. And so what does that look like what does that mean? I've worked with them in this particular way for the last 3 years, and it was through my own, activation, my own physical experience of what they feel like in my body that has allowed me to um, not pretend that it didn't exist. It woke me up to the reality of holy crap, like this was real, and I like cannot deny what happened. And as I was building this relationship and trying to understand how to work with them, and then seeing the results that other people got, then I kind of understood like how it works and why someone would benefit from working with dragons. So one of the big benefits is that working with dragon energy will activate your dormant gifts very quickly.
Mm,
I mean, things are already moving fast right now, right?
yeah.
And so when we work with the dragon energy, I mean, they are a force. You think about dragons, you think
Yeah.
huge, big.
Yeah.
And while there are dragons that are more gentle in nature, that's not the ones I work
You.
with. They're wild and they're big and they're like, let's get
Getting
it
all
done.
up in there.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm very much like that too. I'm all about like no BS, let's get right to it. And so that energy, that group of dragons works very well with me. Now, you'd ask me what kind of dragons I work with, hundreds. It used to be like one, two, three, four, five. And now there's just like, I just call them the Dragon Collective.
Yes.
Honestly, they don't care about names in
Yeah.
terms of like identifying who they are.
Yeah.
And then they're also about not siloing and not labeling. They just want to be this force of positive reckoning
Mm,
in
oh
the
my
very
God, that's
specific.
huge. Like I felt that when you said positive reckoning, I felt that for a minute in my body, and I was like, oh boy, that's
Yeah,
big.
yeah. You and I are reflecting back at each other right now because I'm feeling you.
Like, oh my God, I think I might be starting to sweat.
Yeah, yeah. And so uh okay, so the activating your dormant gifts. I don't know the range of the audience who listens, so I'm just going to real quick share with you what that might mean in terms of activating your dormant
Yeah.
gifts. It doesn't necessarily mean that one day you wake up and suddenly you're seeing dead people and
Right.
you're
Right.
seeing the auras of plants. It sometimes can be a very subtle shift
Sure.
that actually just creates this explosion of awareness of how you have been living. That is an awakening of your dormant gift, right? It's like understanding, okay, holy cow, I'm totally seeing the world from a different viewpoint right
Yeah.
now, and I'm starting to understand these patterns that I have been repeating over and over again, bringing the subconscious to the conscious. That is to me like you're waking up. Um, and then, so that's one. Number two is awakening the sexual energy within your body for manifestation, transformation, transmutation.
Mhm.
And as I started continuing to work with them, I was like, this is feeling really erratic, and it's feeling kind of like I was struggling with it because I'm like, I'm feeling dirty because of my own,
Judgments. Yeah.
yeah, yes, and conditioning of sexuality, what it means, like how I should have been acting. I shouldn't feel this, like, am I doing something wrong? But understanding more that it's not about sexuality and sex. It's the And that's the label that we give it, right? Because it's an orgasmic kind of energy. And so when I say orgasmic, it's kind of giving you an idea of the intensity of that energy. So it's not necessarily you're getting a sexual orgasm, but it's
Right.
like the intensity of an orgasm within your body. So when
Yeah.
you are um working with that kind of energy, can you imagine how much you can do with it, how much power you have now within yourself to do those things, manifest, transform, and transmute.
Yeah.
And so all of those things are possible with that type of energy. The third is the power of creation. So when I think about creation, I'm thinking beyond. It's like the place of the void where
Yeah.
we get to create. We get to
Yeah.
use our imagination, our power, the things that we were born with to create the construct of what we want our life to look like. I'm going to keep giving people like definitions because I
Yeah.
realize as I'm speaking, I remember someone telling me that. I'm like, I don't understand any of that. Like, what did you just say? It just sounds Greek to me. So when I
Yeah.
say create the construct, like when you're constructing, you're building. So building, like what is it that you want your life to look like, and how can you put those pieces together with creation? Because you are co-creating. It's not like you're giving this to just some sort of energy to do what it wants to do. No, like you have to really embody and own that power that you have within you and create with creation the
Yeah.
life dreams that you desire.
Yeah, I'm sort of picking up like if you were to, if you're a chef, right, and you're putting together a meal, there's all these different ingredients that have to be put into the meal for it to be tasty, for it to look
Mhm.
right, for it to be able to serve,
Mhm.
its eaters. I don't know how else you want to say it, it's eaters. So that's what you're talking about when you're talking about the construct, putting what are the ingredients that you
Yes,
need and how are you going to put them together? So that's
yes,
what I'm picking up. I have a question for you because one of the things I keep going back to as you're talking, and I'm loving and I'm simmering on every word that you say, I'm still trying to understand, and I understand energy. Like I get it. And I'm more on the practical, pragmatic side. So I'm like a little bit more sciency in my woo. And I love the woo and I'm here for the woo. My definition of woo is like non-physical, right? Metaphysical, non-tangible. But if we were just to go back to the basics, I know that you have this dragon energy not only in you, but you embody it and you channel it. But what is dragon energy?
That's the mystery.
Okay, so that's fine. So I'm in alignment with that because I'm here like, what is this though? What is
Well, yeah, yeah.
but like what is it?
Yeah. I mean, you can think of it as an archetype, even.
Perfect. Okay, got it.
Yeah. And you know, an archetype, for those, again, for those people who don't understand that word, an archetype is, you can think of it as an aspect of yourself. So we have the warrior archetype, you know, the bold, if I'm speaking to a female, the bold woman who is fearless and who's going to go out there and you know, complete her mission. Or you have the archetype of the perfectionist, right? The person who wants everything to be spot on. There can be no flaws, like everything needs to move, you know, smooth and effortlessly. And then you have like the dragon archetype. So when you think about dragons, what comes up?
Okay.
Maybe some fear, but we're talking about the good dragons.
But sometimes with fear, there's also respect. Like there's a, there's the duality. You can say a part of fear is respect because in my mind, I have a perception and a perspective, a point of view of what a dragon is, but other people might have different. So when you are dragoning, when you are channeling the dragon, are you channeling from your perspective of the dragon, or are you also tapping into their perspective of the dragon as well?
Mhm. No, theirs.
There.
So, I'll actually, let me clarify. I can do both. I can do both. So
Okay.
when I'm the physical channel, it's theirs. It's all theirs. And you can think of it as, you know, you have source energy, God, creator, universe, and then you have archangels. Because I mean, a lot of people can understand angels, right? And then
Sure.
angels are messengers.
Right.
Well, dragons are like that too.
Yeah.
They're just the intermediary
Yeah.
of the creator God, the universe. And when I'm the physical channel, it's like just all from the perspective of dragons. When I'm pseudo, where you know I'm streaming, where I'm hearing and receiving the messages and I'm relaying it. You know, that's more me because I can filter things. You
Yeah.
know, I can say it in the way I want to say it versus
Yeah.
exactly how they want to say it. And I will say most of it, if I'm speaking English, really is my interpretation because dragons don't speak English. It
Right.
sounds.
Right.
Yeah. And so for me, it's feeling the messages and then having to relay it in the way that I understand it, or
Yeah.
telepathy, even, you
Sure.
know, just like receiving the messages that way with
Yeah.
hearing my own voice in my head
Correct.
and being able to share in that way.
Yeah, that makes sense because when I channel as well, it's still like a being or entity or whatever is still making its way clarity wise. Like I don't always know who. So like you said earlier, the dragons know their roles. There's so many types of dragons that it's easier to just call them a dragon collective. So for me right now, I'm calling them Team Terrie because there's the
Mm,
cosmic family, there's the ancestors, there's the loved ones and people so it's like there's so much. It's just easier, I feel, for the human to sort of look at them as a collective and use that energy. But everything you're saying makes sense to me because we as humans, and we, even though we're channels, we still have to manage the humanity of ours,
mhm.
right? We have ways and even strengths of how we communicate.
Yeah.
So everything that you're saying makes total and complete sense and is totally in alignment, with everything. And I just am really loving the dragon aspect of it because that's something I personally have never thought of or considered. Considered. I think that's the words, considered.
Well,
So
honestly, I didn't either, Terry.
yeah.
I didn't either. Yeah. I mean, I was born in the year of the dragon of the Vietnamese zodiac.
Wow.
So I have that aspect where I'm like, oh, I'm a dragon, you know, and it was very make believe. It was
Yeah.
very make I didn't actually really believe in dragons. It was just like a fun thing to say.
Okay.
And then as I started my journey as an energy healer, I was playing around with it, but
Okay.
it wasn't like I'm a dragon channel. It was still kind of like, well, I'm sure there's dragon energy, but more like very superficial,
Yeah,
you know?
I hear you on that. Yeah.
Yeah. And then when I had that dragon activation, I was like, what? This is real. Like, there's no way, you know? But again, it had to happen that way for me to really own it, for me to really be convinced, because I would have had to be convinced that it exists. If I were to be channeling now, it had to happen that way. Otherwise, I wouldn't have believed it.
No, I'm with you 1,000%. My first mediumistic experience, I was on a paranormal investigation and I basically had a spirit take over my body. And it was interesting because I was interviewing here on the portal. I was interviewing a psychotherapist, and she's like, how did you know you weren't going crazy or, having a multiple personality break or anything? And it's something that I know you understand this. You can't quite explain it, but you're still in your right mind as a human, but you're having this almost extra energy or sensation or whatever your primary way of communication is. So it's not like you lose yourself. You're still there, but it's almost like you are open to another pathway, and another pathway kind of shows up, or a stream of consciousness, or, whatever it is. For you, it's dragon. I got to tell you, mine feels like it's switching and it's changing, and I'm not sure the direction. I'm just trusting it and still calling it Team Terrie because that's how I have to manage this way. But everything you're saying just is in alignment with like my experience and then other people that I know, their experiences. I have to know what your activation was like. Is that something you're comfortable sharing? If
Oh,
not,
totally.
I want to know, like, what
Yeah.
was, or with the dragons, like, what was that like?
Yeah. Okay. So I went to Mount Shasta for a retreat. It was I was holding space and helping the main facilitators. She told me that the first night would be a sound bath, and I knew right away something was going to happen. I didn't know what it was going to be, but I told her, I said, I think something's going to happen to me,
Oh,
but
boy.
I need you to kind of like look out for me. If I start doing some weird things, like let me know. And
Yeah.
prior to that point, I wasn't channeling dragons. I was channeling archangels, but
Okay.
not dragons. Yeah. So I was working with energies in my body already, but just not dragons. And when I walked into the yurt, my heart started racing and it started pounding out of my chest. I mean, a
Oh, I
million
know
miles a minute. I could not stop it, Terrie. And
I
I
know
was
that.
like, what is going on? I wasn't even nervous, you know? And I'm like, I'm not scared, but what is my body doing right now?
Yeah.
And I'm a nurse, so I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I'm having tachycardia where you have like your heart rate is like extremely high. Like I thought it was gonna, all those sorts of things. I thought maybe I might have a heart attack. I might like pass out.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying all these things to calm myself down or slow my heart rate. And it wasn't happening. So I knew that I was in a safe space. I knew that my friends, Amy and Leanne, were around to help me if something really bad were to happen. So I just trusted, I already knew something was going to happen. And I felt like this is probably part of the process, but I was still freaked out. I'm not going to pretend, I was freaked out and scared. And as the facilitator started drumming, and I will say the drum is like a really great tool to connect to dragon energy.
That's good to know.
Every time she beat that drum, it was like this energy started building up inside me. And I was just holding on tight. There were about 18 other people inside this yurt. They had no idea who I was. I'd never met them ever in my entire life. And I was like, I am not about to start this retreat weekend with me going crazy, because they had to spend the next week with me. It was a week, Terrie. And my worst fear would be that I scared people.
Sure.
Because I didn't know what was going on. Because even with the archangels, it didn't feel like that. When I channeled archangels, that it had never felt like that before, how I felt during that sound bath. And it got to the point where I couldn't contain it anymore. Like I couldn't hold on anymore. So I was like, okay, screw it. Let's do this, So I completely surrendered. And as soon as I did that, my mouth and my throat and my tongue were making all these really weird noises that I would never intentionally make, noises that I wouldn't even think about making. And my body started convulsing, and this energy was running up and down my body. And like everything was involuntary. I couldn't control anything. But as soon as I started making the sounds, Amy came over because she heard me. And she's a physical channel. She channels the Council of Light.
Oh, wow.
And so I fully trusted her. I knew I was safe. I knew that if it was energy that was not for my highest good, she would be there and just take care of it. But instead, she held my head and she was very reassuring. She was just like, I'm here. She's like, you're safe, and just allowed me to experience the energy of these dragons coming in and out. And she was telling me that at some point they were channeling to her, telling her which chakras to open and which chakras to close. So as one dragon left, she would close it, open another one, another dragon would come through.
Wow.
And so there were about 4 to 5 of them moving, in and out, up and down my body.
Sure.
And I knew it was them almost automatically when they started making the sound, because I was like, okay, this is dragony, but I don't know how, but I feel like it is. And then when I looked up on top of the yurt, I saw the dragons flying around up there.
Wow. Okay.
So yes, and then I was like, okay, I'm okay. This is really freaking weird. The whole time I'm like, this is weird. I'm just gonna go with it. And then about 45 minutes into it, Amy had said, okay, well, the sound bath is closing up. We're going to stop soon. So I was like, okay, time to go, let's end this right now. And I kind of said it like that. I'm like, it's time to leave now. But they were just like, no, let's do this. And I was telling her, Amy, they're not stopping. And she said, oh, they're just really excited. They've never been in a human body before. But also they're not human, right? Sure. So then when I realized that the nice Theresa asking them to leave was not working, I really had to be firm. I'm like, okay, we are done. I need my body back. You guys need to leave. So I had to really be firm, set those boundaries right away. And tell them this is how we're working together, and if you can't respect what I want, then this is not happening ever again. And honestly, I didn't know if I wanted it to happen again. It was still it was my first time experience, and I was just freaked out about it. So after, setting those boundaries, they left, but my body was still twitching, it was I was still feeling the after effects of what was happening. And all of that, it was they weren't going in there just to explore. They were going in there to heal. They were going in there for realignment. They were going in there to help me open my energy body, to clear it out, so that I could hold that energy. So sure. I'm 5'0", so I'm a tiny body, and holding all of that light is a lot. But it had like I continued to repeat myself over and over again. It had to happen this way in order for me to do the work that I do today, because I can't fake it, right? Yeah. I would know if I was faking it, but you can't fake that stuff for 45 minutes. No. You can fake it for maybe 1 minute, but for 45 minutes, there would be a heck no to that. So that was my activation, and it's just been a part of me ever since.
Do you think there could be another activation? And what I mean by that is because one of the things I'm realizing in my evolution, and this is what I teach my clients, is that you have more than one activation, more than one awakening, obviously in different areas of your life. But with dragon energy, do you think there are levels? Do you think you could even be activated to a deeper level or a more expansive level?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So are nervous about that? Like, oh my gosh, what if that happens? And
Yeah, a little bit because I know it's coming. And
feel it.
yeah, yeah, uh-huh. I feel like it's the timing for a lot of us,
Yeah,
you
something's
know? Yeah.
brewing. Thing
A
for
lot
sure
of
is brewing.
Yeah, a lot of for us teachers,
Yeah,
mentors who are meant to pave the way, are meant to hold big spaces
yeah,
for people so that they can come into the realization of their purpose, their power, their passion, and fulfillment in their life, and help them walk their journey
yeah.
on this path that can sometimes be really scary. And it's still scary for me because I don't like the unknown.
None of us do.
And, I still have that perfectionism side of me where I need to know everything. I need the schedule. I
Yeah.
need to know what's happening. But we both know, and many people know, spirit doesn't work that way, right? Because if we knew, we would try to control it.
Uh, yeah, that's the challenging and difficult part of being human. That's the entangled part of us, and that is something that I have to. I call it I'm officially adding a law of the universe, and it's called the rinse and repeat function. I
Mm,
consistently remind myself who I really am, what is happening. But sometimes I'll do this like 30, 40 times a day because that's
mm,
activated my human, or I shouldn't say activated, but how entangled my human is in that moment or in
mm,
during that day. So it's this
mm,
universal law of rinse and repeat. But it is, I do feel like something is brewing. I don't know what it is. It makes me feel it kind of in a way. I don't know if you feel this way. At moments, I feel like it can feed an imposter syndrome. So there are times where I feel like, well, I should know what I am doing. I should know how, who, what, why, what, where, when, because I'm here guiding and
yes.
facilitating people, and I'm like, oh, well, if I don't know, then I must be a terrible ABC. I'm a bad guide. I'm a bad healer and all these things. And but at the same time, there's something brewing. Like you can feel it. So I'm really glad that you said that because, whether you're in this field like you and I are, which is basically like helping navigates human having as spiritual beings, it's hard to navigate and being actual human, right? And we do the same thing, we just do it differently. But there are people in other fields doing other things that also experience the imposter syndrome. And that's something that I've been noticing that's kind of been popping up more. What are
Yeah.
your thoughts on that?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I feel like these other roles that I have in life, mom, wife, career woman, energy healer, um, we go through these milestones. Um, for example, my son, he's graduating senior this year.
wow.
And yeah, and so for me, it's like, and he's the oldest, so that it's like a first time thing for me. And I was thinking about, I was telling a friend yesterday, I'm like, I help other people navigate this stuff all the time. But now that I'm in it, it's like, why can't I take my own advice? Like, am I just spewing out BS? Like, why doesn't the stuff that I tell people work for me?
I you know, I feel the same way, and I don't know about you, but for me personally, that pokes on my perfectionism. You right out the gate in this conversation, you started talking about perfectionism. I'm like, I think she's picking up on, one of my challenges. But like it pokes at perfectionism and like yeah, and so you actually have an extra role that I don't have, which is as a mom. So I feel like you have so much on your plate. You have so much that you're doing that it's weird to feel and have those thoughts which lead to the emotions.
Mhm, mhm.
It all of this is really interesting. And it's almost like the more I study, the more I practice, the more I do whatever, the less I actually know.
Yeah. Yes. It's so true. You can't what we know right now about the work that we do, right? Like it is so minute compared to the vast wisdom and knowledge and
Mm.
what's going on right now. But like, would you want to know it all? Can you imagine knowing it all and having to hold all that in your head? You know, like I think we would go insane.
I don't think I could manage that because I already, one of my coping mechanisms is fawning, being a people pleaser. So
Mm,
I already knew this. I could just imagine 20 million gazillion fold how that would play out,
yeah,
and
yeah,
your sense of responsibility, So I,
yes,
I wouldn't want that, Teresa. I wouldn't want what you're saying. Like if you had the opportunity to know everything, would you?
yeah.
No, no.
No, I have this friend who is a knowledge seeker, which I think is amazing. But then she always brings back the negative stuff that she
Yeah.
has discovered. It's like the not controversy. There's what's another word?
The
Say it.
conspiracy.
Yes, yes.
Conspiracy, yeah.
Oh, I hate that because I'm like, you know what? This is not my job. It might be your job to discover this and join those forces that are here to fix that. But I know that my journey is different. And I can't think about all the negative things that are going on in the world because one, I still have a lot in my life that I need to deal with, that I have to figure out, that I have to try to, heal. And to take on more of the world's problems is overwhelming. And I feel like as humans, we are all doing that right now. Like
Yeah.
it's almost like a distraction. This might be
Yeah.
conspiracy. This might be conspiracy, what I'm saying right now. But I feel like sometimes the darkness will show us these things so that we will be distracted from our own lives so that we
Oh,
can worry about something else, someone else besides ourselves. Because, the most powerful thing is for us to heal and for us to then realize how much power we have
yeah.
and being able to use that
Yeah.
versus worrying about everybody else and never having a real solution, just spinning your wheels about how we can save the world,
Yeah. Well,
saving ourselves.
that's the dangerous part is spinning the wheels with no solution. That's the part of like, the conspiracy theorists and all of that and the truth seeking that kind of pokes at me because I'm also a truth seeker. I want to know truth. I also have to feel the truth. So someone else's truth may not be my truth
Right.
because the
Yeah.
truth, that we're talking about truth, is
Yes.
that there are
Yes.
different levels of truth.
Yeah.
But it's spinning the wheels where we get stuck in. But it's interesting because this is kind of more of an esoteric kind of question that I'm about to ask you that's coming through. So it's very interesting because I would have never thought I would ask this of anybody. But since planet Earth and us as humans, we have to basically operate in duality. Is there even duality within duality? So you're talking about darkness, right? Because and I'm like, yeah. And as a healer, and I'm sure you are similar in this point of view, is that the darkness comes up to be cleared out, which is like a
Mhm.
transmutation. That's the transmutation and alchemization. But it can also, which is a truth, and it could also distract. So even within the darkness, there's duality.
Hmm.
That
I
just
have to
came.
think about that, Terrie.
My God, I know. Me talk. I don't think I've ever had conversations like this on portal. No. So all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, is there now duality within light and duality within dark? Oh God. So
Well,
here,
I bet, yes, I think you have brought up a really interesting discovery because there can, I mean, if we're having this conversation, I feel like there can be in both light and dark because we already have judgments about what light and darkness is,
correct.
right?
Yeah.
And then once we like if we were to think about the duality of light, there is a duality there too.
Because even light
Because
can be distracting.
yes, light can also be I feel like some people, it gives them an excuse to pretend or to live in a different reality. I don't want to say pretend, to live in a different reality where they're not seeing the whole picture. And
Yeah.
it's not, again, it's not to convince anybody that there are other forces at play,
Right.
but
Right.
there
Well,
just needs to be an awareness.
awareness.
There
I
are other forces at play.
heard of you. I've never had that thought before. It's never come to me before. And all of a sudden, as I'm talking with you, your dragons, let me tell you, they're working on me somehow, Matt. But because one of the things I started realizing, and maybe you have clients that are like this, I am one of these clients. If you had a client like this who's continuously wanting to heal and continuously wanting to change and transform. And I'm realizing, even in that desire to constantly change and heal and transform, that can be a distraction.
Yes.
Complete
Yes. Yes.
trauma. I just realized I might be distracting my own self with my own healing. And I'm not trying, because I'm not trying to avoid. That's the thing, is I don't avoid this stuff. I will
Mm-hmm.
go there. I'll go there deep and hard, but maybe going deep and hard also could be a distraction for me.
Well, there's moments of integration, right? So I feel like if you're going there and you have those moments of integration, then there's no,
Yeah.
oh shoot, just
That's
lost my train of thought. But what you're saying, distraction. There's no
exactly.
distraction in that. It's that you're still honoring yourself through that healing, discovering what you need to discover, but then there's that period of integration. Because as you know, we never stop healing. Well, we got shitloads of stuff just coming up all the time.
Time. And I remember my ex saying, Terrie, why are you always working on yourself? And not that he was trying to distract me, but now it's kind of clicking. It's like, yeah, why am I always like, why can't I just integrate and then go to the next one? I'm always like, let's do, let's do, let's do.
Mhm.
And I'm like, I think that might even be a distraction. And so now it's all coming together. I think it's kind of funny. It is what it is. It's a great realization, but I kind of took us off track.
No, this
But
is good.
okay, you like this track. Okay, good.
Mhm, mhm.
Um, but it's just really interesting because it all started, like, all this clicked for me when you were talking about distractions, and there's just so much distraction in there. So, I guess there is duality within duality within
Oh
duality.
God, Terrie.
When we go into all of these like multidimensional paradigms, and I guess you can even go into string theory from there, and I guess you could go into like, oh God, we could go there. I gotta not, I gotta not go there, but I think I've started going there.
I love it.
Oh my gosh, Teresa. Okay. Let's get us back on track here. Okay. So what are some of the, like, in terms of your favorites when you worked and helped somebody? What are some of your favorite, I don't know if you want to call them clients, cases, outcomes, results?
Hmm.
What's
Yeah.
some of your
Well, my favorites are the ones who are like meant to work with dragon energy and they don't know it. And they come to me for a session and they experience the dragons right away, like physically. Like they don't know that they're channeling. They just know they're doing some weird stuff, you know? And I'm over here smiling and, moving with the energies. Like that is my ultimate favorite because I'm like, oh my God, welcome home.
Oh,
Join the club. You know what I mean?
I love
It's
that.
so lonely, honestly, being a dragon channel. Like, there's not a lot who have visibly, stepped into it and made themselves known. So for me, it's like waving my freak flag. And I know there's a lot of people who feel the same way about their intuitive gifts,
Yeah.
but I just don't see a lot of dragon channels,
No.
So when I do, it's I feel like spirit's bringing them into my reality so that I don't feel so lonely, and there's like somebody else and somebody else. So those are my favorite, just being able to see their dragons, running through their body and how it moves and the language of the dragons, how it's being expressed through those people.
Mm.
And then could I share my worst experience?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, my worst experience, and thankfully it has only happened once, knock on wood, and I've asked Spirit not to bring me anymore, is when people experience dragon energy with other energies during an experience where the space was not held with a lot of light or with clear intention. So an example, that the only example I have is this woman who took plant medicine, and she asked that she experienced all aspects of her. Long story short, she came to me because she had 3 days of dragon energy running through her body. 3 days.
Wow.
3 days. And it was to the point she said, I wanted to die. It was that bad because it was constant. So imagine having orgasmic
Yeah.
energy in your body constantly for 3 days. Like you would not be able to stand it.
Yeah.
And that was really hard for me because it wasn't just dragon energy. It was other energies that should not have been there.
Wow.
And it was a lot of tricky energy. And it just stuff like, I don't want to deal with that. I don't want it in my house. I don't, I want people who are ready to step into, using this energy for the masses. Like I want to be working with the change makers. I want to be working with the leaders because
Yeah.
we're here to do like a lot of hard work.
That's amazing. I mean, that doesn't sound even, sometimes I will describe something as creeptacular, where it's kind of creepy, but really awesome at the same time. That does not at all sound good. So, oh my God. Well, I hope you never have to experience that again, because
Yeah.
yeah, I hear you. I hear you. Well, Theresa, this has been incredible and so wonderful speaking with you. And I am so happy that you were able to join us here on the portal. If somebody wants to work with you, maybe they want to experience dragon energy, maybe they want to work one-on-one or go to one of your retreats or whatnot. How can people find you? Where can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, so they can find me at Theresa Nguyen Speaks. So my first name, my last name, followed by Speaks, Speaks. And I'm like that on all the social media channels. So Theresa Nguyen Speaks on IG, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn. It's all the same. And then my website. So that should be easy enough.
Okay, great. And I'll make sure that I have all that information in the show notes as well. So anybody watching or listening, if you guys want to get in touch with Theresa, I'll make sure all of the information is down below. And again, thank you, Theresa, so much for sharing and enlightening. I feel like you taught us a lot about dragon energy. So thank you so much. And if you are watching or listening to this podcast, The Portal with Terrie Huberman, please like, subscribe, share, get these messages out, because if you're thinking or feeling some way, so are other people. And we're all here. I know you are here to serve and to help people. And what better way than to help them expand their consciousness and to even have some of their curiosities maybe explained. And if you're going through anything, like maybe you're experiencing dragon energy and you're not even sure, where can you go to help? Where can you go for explanation? Well, here's Theresa, right? She can help you. She can at least direct and guide you, maybe work with you, right? So share this podcast, like, subscribe so the algorithm does its thing. And thank you all so much for being here, and stay connected. Keep that wonderful, beautiful heart of yours open, and I will see ya on the flip side.